All right, y'all. The next thing we're going to be talking about in class today is actually pretty basic. We're talking about opposite numbers and absolute value. Out of those two, absolute value is kind of the trickiest one. So we're going to talk about opposite numbers first because that's very, very easy. Here's a couple examples before I explain it. 5. The opposite of 5 is negative 5. The opposite of negative 5 is positive 5. The opposite of 17 is negative 17. The opposite of negative 40 is 40 or positive 40. The opposite of negative 3001 is positive 3001. Y'all, when we're talking about opposite numbers, we're really just talking about the mirror image on the other side of the number line. So the opposite of the positive 5 is the negative 5. The opposite of the negative 5 is the positive 5. The opposite of 17 is negative 17. The opposite of negative 40 is 40. Y'all, opposites are very basic. If you have a negative, get rid of the sign. If you have a positive, add the negative sign to it when you're talking about opposite numbers. All right, y'all. The second part of this is absolute value. And I know I said it was kind of tricky, but the main thing people get confused about is they forget what these signs mean. If you look, these are not ones. These are actually two lines that like make a box almost around it, except not the top or the bottom. Same thing here. That's not a 1. These are two lines on either side of the 4. Those lines actually mean absolute value. If you see two straight lines like this around a number, what they're really asking you is how far from 0. So how far from 0 literally means how many spaces is that number from 0. So the absolute value of negative 4, from negative 4 to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. The absolute value of negative 4 is actually just 4. The absolute value of positive 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, is also 4. You will never get a negative number for your absolute value. You can have a negative number inside, but the space that number is from 0 is going to be the positive version of that number. Negative 4 is 4 spaces from 0. Positive 4 is 4 spaces from 0. The absolute value of negative 10 is 10 spaces from 0. One last example, the absolute value of 41. 41 is 41 spaces from 0. So that is the absolute value of that number.